Hey everyone, welcome back to another dividend investing video. Made some changes to the public dividend growth income portfolio, and I thought it would now be a good time to do a proper step through of each position I hold in the fund. This is an account with Fidelity I started about a year and a half ago, and I've been continuously adding funds into it and buying dividend growth stocks since its creation. We've been sharing the progress here on the channel, although I don't think I've ever done a proper step through of each position like we're going to do today. It's a lot to cover, so let's dive in. I'm Nick, and this is the Dividend Growth Income channel. Thank you for joining me today. I'm not a financial advisor or guru. I'm just a regular guy who wants to share my love of dividend growth investing and building financial independence with passive income. If you could, please do me a favor, smash the like button and subscribe to keep up with future videos. This helps us out more than you can imagine with the algorithm, so we can bring you more quality dividend investing content. I cut a few positions that I didn't see myself wanting to hold over the long haul. And this is a long-term investment account. Now, I'll leave a link in the description to the stocks I sold that I put out a few weeks ago. Now, we're using this to grow our passive income. Normally, on our monthly portfolio videos, I'll use my spreadsheet to talk about all the stocks we have bought in that month and all the dividends we receive. But today, I'm actually just going to use the app from my iPhone where I do all my purchasing to walk through each of these positions. Just something a little different than the usual. Okay, I'm going to go from highest weighted positions on down. I do hold a lot of positions in this account, and I think ultimately I'd like to reduce it by maybe another 2 or 3 holdings over the next year, but let's see how things unfold. At the end of the video, I'll give you a few thoughts I have on how I see things developing throughout the next stretch. Now, my 3 heaviest positions in the fund are ETFs. The heaviest is the Vanguard High Dividend Yield Index Fund ETF, ticker VYM. I have 17.404 shares of VYM, valued at $1,964.56. This makes up 9.31% of the portfolio, and I'm up about 7.2% on this investment, and also pays an estimated $60.57 in dividend income annually, with a 3.08% yield. The second largest position is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, ticker SCHD. I have 25.451 shares of SCHD, valued at $1,954.38. This makes up 9.27% of the portfolio. I'm up about 6.41% on this investment, and it also pays an estimated $67.70 in annual dividend income with a 3.46% yield. Now, fun fact, whenever I bought SCHD, I bought VYM in equal amounts, sort of as an experiment I'm running, since this is a public portfolio, just to compare the performance between the two, which is why I pretty much have the same amount of both, as these are arguably the most popular dividend ETFs out there. So I think this topic probably deserves its own video in the near future. Moving along, the next largest position in the portfolio is the Vanguard S&P 500 Index ETF, ticker VOO. I have 2.532 shares of VOO, valued at $1,116.42, and this makes up 5.53% of my portfolio. I'm up 21% on this investment, and it also pays me about $16.10 a year in dividends, with a 1.38% yield. Now remember that the S&P right now is being heavily driven by about 7 mega-cap tech companies that have just been on an absolute tear. This is my single favorite investment. I'd be heavier here if I didn't own it elsewhere, such as my 401k and my Roth IRA. I think that's an important thing to point out as I build this out. Now let's get to the good stuff, the dividend growth stocks, the wonderful companies that make up the portfolio. Now I want no individual company to make up more than 5% in my portfolio here, ideally. First, we have Chevron, ticker CVX. This is an oil and gas company. It's the only energy company I hold in the portfolio. Currently, I'm holding 6.036 shares of CVX, valued at $911.67. This makes up 4.32% of the portfolio. I'm down about 3% on this investment. It pays me about $39.95 annually. Shares are yielding 4.26% right now. Chevron has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 90, with a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 6%, and their latest raise announced just a few days ago was a nearly 8%. The next position is Vici Properties, ticker VICI. This is the real estate investment trust that owns many of the properties on the Las Vegas Strip. I hold 28.697 shares of Vici, valued at $852.87, making up just over 4% of the portfolio. I'm down about 3.7% on the investment. It pays me about $47.63 annually in dividends. Shares are yielding 5.59%. Vici has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 50. Their latest dividend raise was 6.4% back in September of 2023. Next up, Lockheed Martin, ticker LMT. This is a defense contractor in the industrial sector. I held 1.887 shares of Lockheed Martin, valued at $804.80, making up 3.82% of the portfolio. I'm down almost 5% on this investment, and it pays me about $23.77 annually in dividends. The shares are yielding 2.95%. LMT has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 84 and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 8%. The latest dividend hike announced was back in October of last year at 5%. Then we have McDonald's, ticker MCD, the largest fast food chain in the world. I have 2.659 shares of McDonald's right now, valued at $769.70, making up 3.65% of the portfolio. I'm up about 9.5% on this investment. It pays me $17.76 in dividends annually. Shares are yielding 2.29% today. McDonald's has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 77 and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 8%, while its latest raise was announced last year at 10%. Okay, next in the portfolio is the Kroger Company, ticker KR. This is a massive grocery store retailer. I have 16.693 shares of Kroger, valued at $758.02. It makes up 3.59% of the portfolio. Performance-wise, this investment is about flat, down 0.21%, and it pays me about $19.36 in dividends annually. Shares are yielding 2.55%. Kroger has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 71, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 15%. Their latest raise back in 2023 in June was at 12%. Then we have Agri Realty, ticker ADC. This is a real estate investment trust, leases mostly to blue chip retailers like Kroger. I have 13.129 shares of ADC right now, valued at $755.31, making up 3.58% of the portfolio. I'm down about 9% on this investment as REITs have been hit hard lately. It pays me $38.91 annually in dividends, and shares are yielding 5.11%. ADC has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 70 with a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 7%. Over the last year, the dividend has gone up by about 4% with a couple small raises. Next up is MasterCard, ticker MA, the transaction and payment processor. I have 1.591 shares of MasterCard, valued at $728.48, making up 3.45% of the portfolio. I am up about 4% on this investment right now. It pays me $4.20 in dividend income annually, with shares yielding 0.58%. Now, MasterCard has a perfect dividend safety score and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 17%, and its latest raise was right in line with that. High growth, low yield. Okay, then next up, we have Home Depot, ticker HD, the world's largest home improvement retailer. I have 1.976 shares of Home Depot, valued at $717.58. It makes up 3.4% of the portfolio. I am up 17% on this investment. It also pays me $16.51 in estimated annual dividend income. Shares today are yielding about 2.3%. Home Depot has a dividend safety score of 87 and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 16. And the last time they announced a raise about a year ago was at 10%. Next, I have United Health, ticker UNH. This is a massive diversified healthcare company. I have about 1.383 shares of UNH, valued at $716.69, making up 3.4% of the portfolio. I am up about 5.3% on this investment, and also pays me about $10.40 in annual dividends. Now, shares are yielding about 1.45%. UNH has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 99, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 16%, with their latest raise last June at 14%. The next position is Aflac, ticker AFL. They're a supplemental insurance company. At present, I have 9.153 shares of Aflac, valued at $716.03, making up 3.4% of the portfolio. I'm up a little more than 5% on this investment, and it's also paying me $18.30 in annual dividends right now, and shares are yielding 2.15%. Aflac has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 90, a 10% annual average dividend growth rate over the last 5 years, and back in November of 2023, they announced a 19% dividend raise. The next position is Automatic Data Processing, ticker ADP. They are a human resources company. I have 2.849 shares of ADP, currently valued at $712.22, making up 3.38% of the portfolio. I am up about 8% on this investment. It's paying me $15.95 in dividends annually. Shares are yielding about 2.24%. ADP has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 97, 14% annual average dividend growth over the last 5 years, with its latest raise of 12% announced last November. The next position is the Comcast Corporation, ticker CMCSA. This is a media and broadcast company, the only company in the communications sector in the portfolio at present. I have 16.542 shares of Comcast, valued at $695.92, making up 3.3% of the portfolio. I am up 5% on this Comcast position. It's also paying $20.51 in dividends annually, with shares yielding 2.99%. Comcast has a Simply Safe Dividend Safety Score of 89, the 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 9%. Just last month, they bumped that dividend up by 7%. Next up, we have BlackRock, ticker BLK. This is a massive investment company and asset manager. I don't even have a full share yet. I have 0.866 shares of BlackRock, but it's valued at $690.38, making up 3.27% of the portfolio. I am up 14% on this position. It's paying me $17.66 annually in dividends. Shares are yielding 2.58%. BlackRock has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 98 and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 11% annually, although disclaimer, the last couple years they've been very underwhelming. All right, next is Next Era Energy, ticker NEE. This is the lone utility company in the fund. They provide electric to the residents of Florida. At present, I hold 12.115 shares of Next Era, valued at $685.46, making up 3.25% of the fund. I am down about 16.5% on this position, and it does pay me $22.65 in dividend income annually. Shares are yielding 3.36%. Next Era Energy has Simply Safe dividend safety score of 90, with an 11% annual average dividend growth rate over the last 5 years. Their latest raise was last year at 10%. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Now, my next position in the fund is Waste Management, ticker WM. This is a trash company. At present, I hold 3.593 shares of Waste Management, valued at $682.12, making up 3.23% of the portfolio. I'm up about 17% on Waste Management, and they do pay me about $10.78 annually in dividends. Shares are yielding 1.86%. We have a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 74, and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 9% annually. Its latest raise last December was at 7%. Then we have Broadcom, ticker AVGO, in the semiconductor business. At present, I hold 0.517 shares of Broadcom, making up 3.17% of the portfolio. I'm up over 110% on this investment. Really wish I'd bought more of this one. They do pay me about $10.85 in dividends annually. Shares are yielding 1.62%. Broadcom has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 67, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 19%. The latest raise was in December of 2023 at 14%. Then we have Medtronic as the next position in the fund, ticker MDT. This is a medical device maker. I hold 7.538 shares of MDT, valued at $645.63, making up 2.75% of the portfolio. I am up about 5% on my MDT investment, and it's paying me $20.80 in dividends annually, with shares yielding 3.22%. Medtronic has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 99, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 8%, but their latest raise announced was at 1.5%, so let's hope that improves. Next up is consumer products maker Procter & Gamble, ticker PG. I have 4.048 shares of Procter & Gamble stock, valued at $637.24, making up 3.02% of the portfolio. I'm up nearly 9% on this investment. It's paying me $15.22 in forward annual dividend income. Shares are yielding 2.39% right now. Procter & Gamble has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 99, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate 6%. Latest raise announced last April was at 3%. This is really a defensive position. Then we have Main Street Capital, ticker MAIN, the only business development corporation BDC I hold here. I have 14.021 shares of MAIN, valued at $624.21, making up 2.96% of the portfolio. I'm up close to 11% on this investment, and it's paying me $38.70 in forward annual dividend income. MAIN is yielding 6.47% at present. Simply Safe dividend safety score is 62, and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 3%. Their latest raise kind of in line with that. Almost through. We've only a few more of these. We have Cisco next, ticker CSCO. They make communication devices. I hold 11.826 shares of Cisco, valued at $592.60, making up 2.81% of the portfolio. I'm up a little more than 4% on this investment. It's paying out $18.45 in forward annual dividend income. Shares of Cisco are yielding 3.11%. Cisco has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 91 and a 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 4%, and their latest raise announced was at 2.6%. Now, next up, we have Mondelez International, ticker MDLZ. They're a snack and candy maker. I own 7.768 shares of Mondelez, valued at $568.38, making up 2.69% of the portfolio. I am up about 6.5% on this investment. It's also paying me $13.21 in dividends annually. Shares are yielding 2.32%. Mondelez has a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 66, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 11% per year. Their latest raise announced back in July was at 10%. All right, next is Snap-on, ticker SNA. They're a tool manufacturer. I have 2.139 shares of Snap-on, valued at $561.34, making up 2.66% of the portfolio. This investment is seeing flat performance mostly due to the recent drop in Snap-on share price. Pays me $15.91 in annual dividend income. Shares are yielding 2.84%. Snap-on has a dividend safety score of 99, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 15%, with their latest raise last November right in line with that. Finally, the last stock in the portfolio by weight is Amgen Inc., ticker AMGN. This is a biotech pharmaceutical company. They hold 1.79 shares of Amgen, valued at $521.10. This is making up 2.47% of the portfolio. I'm up over 20% on this investment, and it pays me $16.11 in dividends annually. Amgen shares are yielding 3.09% with a Simply Safe dividend safety score of 74, 5-year average annual dividend growth rate of 11%. Their latest raise back in November was announced at 5.6%. So that's every position in the portfolio right now. Maybe next time I make a video going through them, I'll illustrate how I see them in terms of like valuation in the coming months. Maybe them like once every month or so. Now, if you've been following me, you'll notice I've trimmed a few positions. I do see myself trimming a few more over the next year. We will see. I'm overall pleased with how this is coming together. I'm way more happier with this now. Putting this video together was really also a fantastic exercise in helping evaluate things. I do have some thoughts to share, and I'm reducing my ETF weighting simply because I'm very, very ETF heavy in other places, especially this year. I'm going almost entirely ETFs in my Roth IRA. So I'd like to increase my VOO as well in that weighting with less focus on SCHD and VYM to kind of put them all about the same weight roughly. So you're going to see me doing that throughout the course of the year. I'm also going to consider my ETF overlap. Many of these holdings are prominent in both SCHD and or VYM. It's not a huge deal, but something I do want to look closer into because I think the findings of that could maybe warrant another video on its own. Be interesting. Altogether now, this fund is valued at $21,090.67. It's projected to pay $614.51 in dividend income over the last 12 months. That is actually down a little bit from the last time we looked at the portfolio a few weeks ago, but the positions I sold out of were higher yielding positions, lower growth. And I really thought it was better to go in another direction. So next I'm going to talk about a couple of dividend stocks that recently raised their dividend, one of them being Chevron, which is in this list here. I think these three companies look interesting for long-term dividend growth investors, so go ahead and click into this next video. Please drop the like and subscribe. And until next time, my friends, keep investing.